Hi my friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Legacy Stacker, and today we're going to cover my constitutional silver stack goal achieved. At the same time, we'll be reviewing this Kennedy 90% silver proof half dollar from 1994, as well as many other different types of 90% silver or constitutional silver, including fractional silver that I stack. How much 90% silver do you stack? How much of this 90% silver do you feel I should stack? Let me know down in the comments. Coins are related to history based on the date of the coin. Coins are also related to finance since they are real money. So come for the coins and stay for the history and finance. But first, to the computer.
Now, here at the SD Bullion website, today is Monday, August 18th, 2025. The silver spot price is $37.97. The gold spot price is $3,351, which gives us a gold to silver ratio of 88-1.
Hi my friends. As you can tell, I've made a decision to keep my identity anonymous on this channel for security reasons. Please feel free to participate in my Million Subscribers Challenge by clicking on the subscribe button below. Do you really want to know who I am? If so, please click on the subscribe button below, and when I reach 1 million subscribers, I will move from behind the camera to in front of the camera. That's my challenge to you. Subscribing to my channel won't cost a thing, and most of all, thank you.
Here's the disclaimer.
The graded coin we'll be reviewing today is this Kennedy silver proof half dollar from 1994. This Kennedy silver proof half dollar is from the San Francisco Mint, as we can see the S Mint mark there, just above the date. The Mint originally made 90% Kennedy half dollars in 1964, just before they started converting from 90% silver to clad versions of all US coins. The Mint also made 40% silver Kennedy half dollars from 1965 up until 1970. There was also a special bicentennial proof mint set, which included the Eisenhower dollar, the Kennedy half dollar, and the Washington quarter in 40% silver. But these proof mint sets weren't put in circulation. They were only made for collectors. That year, in 1976, the coins had both dates on them, 1776 to 1976, and were minted in 1975 and 1976 in preparation for the bicentennial celebration in 1976. But not many people are aware that the US Mint also started to mint 90% silver Kennedy half dollar proofs beginning in 1992 up until the current date. But the Kennedy proof half dollars as well were only minted in special 90% silver proof sets, minted only for collectors. Now as we look at the reverse of this Kennedy silver proof half dollar from 1994, we see the presidential seal, with the heraldic eagle there, clutching an olive branch and arrows representing war and peace, with a shield protecting the eagle's chest. This coin is graded proof 69 by the NGC Grading Company, is made up of 90% silver, has a mintage of 785,329 coins, and based on that mintage and grade, is currently worth approximately $35. At this point, while we are reviewing the 1994 Kennedy silver proof half dollar coin, we ask ourselves, what was happening in 1994 when this coin was minted? Former President Nixon dies in 1994. He was 81 years old. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, former First Lady of the United States, dies of cancer at the age of 64. In Detroit, Michigan, Nancy Kerrigan is clubbed on the right leg by an assailant in order for her rival, Tonya Harding, to win the Olympics in figure skating, a plot which didn't work. Songwriter Kurt Cobain, frontman for the band Nirvana, committed suicide in his Lake Washington home that year. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were murdered outside the Simpson home in Los Angeles in 1994. And the O.J. Simpson trials, both criminal and civil, began shortly thereafter. And Amazon is also founded by Jeff Bezos in 1994. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was almost 4,000 points in the year 1994, as compared to the over 44,000 points today in 2025. Inflation in the year 1994 was just 2.56%, which is similar to our current 2.7% inflation rate we're seeing this year in 2025. The average price of a new car was nearly $18,000 in 1994, as compared to $48,000 today. And the price of a gallon of gasoline was just $1.11 in 1994, as compared to the $2.79 we're seeing this year in 2025. The average cost of a home was approximately $106,000, as compared to the over $531,000 today. And the average rent was just $662 per month in 1994, as compared to the $2,340 today in 2025. There were a number of movies that came out in 1994, such as Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, starring Jim Carrey, Natural Born Killers, starring Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis, and Junior, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, and Emma Thompson. You may have seen some of them. Hit songs such as I'll Make Love to You by Boyz II Men, Crazy by Aerosmith, and Baby I Love Your Way by Big Mountain were popular that year. Let me know down in the comments, do you remember some of those things back in 1994?
Hi, my friends. If you enjoyed the content of my channel and you're interested in collecting and stacking silver coins, you may want to check out my playlists on my Legacy Stacker channel. You can go to my Legacy Stacker homepage by clicking on the Legacy Stacker gold coin right here. Then at the homepage, you can click on the Playlists tab right here. As you can see, I've created over 15 playlists on my channel, so you can check out everything from my Morgan Silver Dollar collection, my Constitutional playlist, or even my most recent or most popular videos. Also, some interesting topics such as my Millionaire series, dividend stocks, or even the Fun Shows playlists. Also, did you know you can subscribe to my channel just by clicking on this Legacy Stacker gold coin right here at the bottom right hand of the screen? How easy is that?
Now, let's talk about my Constitutional Silver Stack goal achieved. Today, I've transported my entire Constitutional Silver Stack from my professionally managed vault, where my Constitutional Silver is kept. I've laid the silver out on the table so we can see it a little better. If you haven't seen my full stack video, I'll place a link right up here to that video so you can check it out. These coins are simply 90% silver coins that I stack as bullion. Any United States silver coin minted before 1965, so with a date of 1964 or earlier, is 90% silver. This includes the dollars, half dollars, quarters, and dimes shown here. I mostly stack these 90% silver coins as fractional silver, as these would be the first coins I would sell, if the stuff hits the fan. I believe I could also use these coins to barter, as many of them are recognizable as coins today and are fractional silver. As you can see, I have 2 tubes of silver dollars. I have a tube of Morgan silver dollars like this one, and I have a tube of peace dollars like this one. Morgan silver dollars were minted from 1878 up until 1921, and then the peace dollars were minted from 1921 up until 1935. Now, let's talk about the 90% silver half dollars. The Barber half dollars were minted between 1892 and 1915. I don't stack them as they are more rare and therefore more costly, at least 50% more costly than, say, the Kennedy half dollars. So I don't stack rolls of Barber half dollars. But I do have this one from 1908, from the New Orleans Mint. As you can see, I have 10 rolls of Walking Liberty half dollars. These Walking Liberty half dollars were minted between 1916 and 1947. I also have 10 rolls of the Benjamin Franklin half dollars. Benjamin Franklin half dollars were minted between 1948 and 1963. And I also have 10 rolls of the Kennedy half dollars. The Kennedy 90% silver half dollars shown here are all original, minted in 1964. If you would like to send me a letter, a sticker, or even silver or gold, my address is right here, and of course, in the description down below. Anything I receive, I will review on the channel, as these items will be my most precious possessions. And I can promise you, anything I receive, I will never sell. They will remain in my Legacy Stacker Forever collection. Now, back to my 90% silver or constitutional silver stack goal achieved. Next up, I now have 30 rolls of quarters, and I've reached my goal of stacking a total of 30 rolls of 90% silver quarters. Now I have a roll of Barber quarters and a roll of Standard Liberty quarters, but most of the rolls of quarters are 90% silver Washington silver quarters, as they have the least amount of wear, and therefore the largest amount of silver content by weight. The Barber quarters were minted between 1892 and 1916. The Standing Liberty quarters were minted between 1916 and 1930. The 90% silver Washington quarter was minted from 1932 up until 1964. And of course, not all Washington quarters are made of 90% silver. They turned to clad in 1965, with all of the other silver coinage beginning in that year. And finally, I now have 30 rolls of dimes, and I've reached my goal to stack 30 rolls of these 90% silver dimes. Now I have a couple of rolls of Barber dimes and a couple rolls of Mercury dimes, but the majority of my dimes are Roosevelt dimes. As like with the Washington quarter, the Roosevelt dimes are more recently minted, therefore less circulated and have less wear, leaving more silver value by weight. The Barber dimes were minted from 1892 up until 1916. The Mercury dimes were minted from 1916 up until 1945. And the Roosevelt dimes were minted from 1946 until 1964, in 90% silver as well. Of course, not all Roosevelt dimes were made up of 90% silver. They turned to clad in 1965 with all of the other silver coinage that year. If you're interested in learning more about constitutional silver, I'll put a link right up here for my constitutional silver playlist, so you can check it out. Now this is what I call my magic inflation quarter. This 90% silver quarter is worth almost $7 due to its silver content. Over $7 if you include the current premiums. Way back in 1948, over 77 years ago, long before I was born, I could have bought a gallon of gasoline for my vehicle for a quarter or 25 cents, just like this one. Today, in 2025, my magic quarter, since it's 90% silver, will now buy me 2 gallons of gasoline for my vehicle, which is just below $3 a gallon, since this quarter is well worth over $6 today in 2025. That's the magic of 90% silver and how stacking silver can be a hedge against inflation. The value of silver has gone up equally or even better in this example as inflation has gone up. And that's time tested over many, many years. That's the magic of stacking silver and my magic inflation quarter. So there you have it, my friends. I've reached my 90% silver goal of having 30 tubes of half dollars, quarters, and dimes. From now on, I'll be concentrating on, you guessed it, gold. And always remember, my friends, silver and gold, it's wealth you can hold in your hands.